Are you thinking of hiring a professional for your window treatment or interior design firm? What are you going to pay them? How do we hire them? What if they suck? Stay tuned for more. Hey kids, and welcome to Designed by Wingnut Social, and Happy New Year! Happy 2024. The show that was 2023 is in our rear view mirror, and we are just looking straight forward and ahead to a bright, new, shiny 2024. I am your host, Darla Powell, the interior decorator from Darla Powell Interiors from, has it been 2 or 3 years now? Where I retired from that to do Wingnut Social, a marketing agency full-time. We are a marketing agency for interior designers, to the trade vendors, architects, and the like. Please head on over to wingnutsocial.com to find out more. So guys, we had some replays. The last 3 or 4 episodes were replays because burnout is a thing. I needed a break. I'll be honest. I've been doing this podcast since 2018, with a break here and there for sure. But, you know, I just Mama needed some time. Mama was burnout. And if you guys are watching our Designed by Wingnut Social channel on YouTube, you can see this beautiful Stanley Cup, not the hockey trophy, that my mother got us for Christmas, me and my wife. And I had no idea that they were a big deal until we started seeing Facebook posts with people marking themselves safe from having received one. I love it, though. I've been drinking a lot more water since I've had it. So there's that. Also, I wanted to remind you guys that our Instagram for Interior Designers course is our self-taught DIY fully robust course from A to Z, soup to nuts, over at wingnutsocial.com. If you're not in a position, as we're going to talk about on this episode with Jessica Harling, to hire someone to do your marketing for you and your for your interior design firm or related industry, it really works for all. That Instagram for Interior Designers course is incredibly helpful. And if you guys need to see a real life testimonial for that, you just head on over to our episode with Ashley Marks, who took the course and is now crazy booked with huge projects. You can go back, and that'll be in the show notes at wingnutsocial.com. So you can see that it actually works. You just have to do it. It is a lot of work, right? There's a lot of elbow grease involved. But that's why it's priced where it is, right? Because if you have someone do it for you, of course, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And that's Instagram for Interior Designers at wingnutsocial.com. You want to check out Wingnut Academy in that Dropbox. And guys, we review that and we update it every quarter. So it stays relevant and up to date for you, because Instagram's always changing. But the basics and the nuts of the strategy and building a strategy don't change as often. But anyway, we update it for you guys. So head on over and check that out. All right. So it's been a hot minute since Jessica Harling's been on the show, and she was last on episode 203. So it's been a very hot several minutes, and a lot has changed since Jessica has been on. We've had a pandemic, we've had elections, we've had economy ups and downs and ins and outs and backwards and forwards and aliens landing in maybe Miami, maybe California. So much has gone on, and there's been a lot of changes in the industry with regards to hiring and paying and salaries and benefits. And we do touch on that in our interview with actual dollar amounts. So if you're looking for a range, hey, I'm hiring a junior designer, what should I be paying them? You'll kind of get a better feeling of what that could look like, right? It's not an inexpensive process, but you know, to grow your business and to make money, you have to do it. All right. So before I get into my conversation with Jessica Harling, you know the drill. And here's a very short bio. Thank you, Jessica. It's more about her firm than it is about Jessica, but you'll get to know her a little bit better in the interview. So Behind the Design, which is the name of her agency, builds dream teams from recruiting to training and process development. We nurture rock star talent and streamline systems to impact the bottom line, quote unquote. I'm doing finger quotes. All right, guys, help me in welcoming Jessica Harling to the show. Back to the show. Hey there, Jessica Harling. Welcome back to the show. How the hell are you?
I'm doing great, Darla. I'm so excited to be back.
I'm so excited to have you back. You were on the show. Gosh, we were just talking in the green room. What's it been, 2 or 3 years since you've been on?
Yeah.
What? That's a long time.
It is a long time.
All right. So we'll go ahead and put 2027 on our calendar right now for your next appearance. All right. Got it.
Fabulous.
Okay. So Jessica, it's been a lot has happened right? In the 3 years that you've been on the show, we've had a full-fledged pandemic in 2023, 2021, 2022. But I really am looking forward to getting your perspective on what you have seen from a recruiting and training agency for window treatment in the interior design business, what you've seen and the differences. But before we get into our conversation, just tell the audience listening just a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll dig in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I own the company behind the design, and we are a people operations consulting company. We build dream teams in 3 ways: through finding top talent, training them to be successful in their role, and then developing processes so that they're streamlined and they can stay long term. And in return, you are then more profitable and everyone is less stressed.
Oh, thank you. That was your elevator pitch. Very well done. I love it. Very short and concise. So you guys specialize in the interior design window treatment milieu. There's no other industry you guys work with?
That's right.
How does that work?
Just the interior design trades. I would say a majority is the interior designers, window coverings, but we've worked with furniture companies, flooring, custom closets, anything in the interior design trades.
You've worked with people in the closet.
Yeah, right. In and out,
That is really awesome. Okay, so when we talked to you last, it was before the pandemic, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
So just tell me briefly what you're seeing, or maybe not even briefly. This is a podcast. Say what you want. What you have seen as far as the differences between recruiting and hiring pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and if you want to throw in some during, that's fine. But where's the industry leaning? What is happening there? Because it's been a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, pre-pandemic, there was a big power focus on the employers. There's this big gate of questions and stages that a candidate has to go through to even be let in the doors. And while there's still the gate now, candidates have a lot more control in the process and a lot more options. When you think about like the internet and what's out there and social media, everyone's posting. So there's a ton of options that are available, even if it's hard to find that top talent. And that puts it in the favor of the candidate. So we have to be smarter and more creative to capture that top talent where they have a little bit of the control.
How much has remote work and that sticking around since the pandemic affected you looking for those qualified candidates?
That's a really interesting question because you get 2 types of candidates in this industry. Those that have some familiarity with how the industry works. We, go into homes, we go on the job sites. There's an expectation that, it's not like a doctor can say, I don't want to go to the hospital anymore. Well, that's where you do your business, so you have to. So there's an expectation there. Now, when it comes to more administrative roles, like folks that might be in marketing or project management, things that could be a little bit on the computer, not on the job site, that's where you're getting more requests of hybrid or remote work, a big increase since the pandemic, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Are you finding that there's still a room for remote workers in the window treatment and interior design spaces? Is that even a thing now? Outside of the administrative piece, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's after, though, a period of time. There's for the most part, a training period that would require some on-site work or on-hands learning, especially interior design with sourcing and, going to job sites and stuff like that. And so that would require more of an on-site presence, but afterwards, I've worked with a lot of companies that actually have their team members that are remote or hybrid in a way. They only come into the office or go on site 2 days a week.
We're seeing a lot of clients come to us at Wingnut Social who are broadening their service offerings for e-design and things that are completely remote, right? Are you seeing an increase in hiring technicians or specialist designers who are capable of doing e-design or, working with AI and all of that stuff remotely? Or is it still, we need boots on the ground interior designers? What is trending there?
Yeah, I'm seeing an increase in those folks being remote or an interest in gathering those. I mean, even an uptick in subcontractors, virtual assistants, people are starting to realize that there are ways to communicate without having the person right in front of you. And so those specialists are able to be remote and not on site.
Yeah, but you're definitely seeing more. Are you getting more inquiries as far as, hey, Jessica, I really need to find this terrific e-designer because we're going in this direction. Are you seeing more of that than you were before the pandemic? I'm just curious to see how that part is growing.
Not as much in the e-design. I'm still seeing a lot of, residential high-end luxury. That's who a lot of the people are looking for when they come to us. I wouldn't say e-design specifically.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up because and maybe I'm wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the e-design option does tend to be not the luxury high-end kind of stuff that people would come to you for to find those qualified candidates, right?
Right.
There's a little bit of it, right? Okay, and the higher end luxury interior design is more boots on the ground, the designers going to your house. That makes sense.
Yeah, finding that perfect personality that is going to make the relationships and have the skill, the actual experience in interior design that you need the licenses for.
Okay, so that clarifies it all in my mind, and that makes perfect sense there. So you mentioned earlier that you guys will train the people that you hire, right, for any given interior design firm, but I'm imagining that you are looking for a particular set of skills. As Liam Neeson right. Forgive my bad Liam Neeson impersonation. But I mean, how much are we training? Are we just training in the interior design firm or window treatment firms SOPs and the way they work? Or are we giving them skills? Walk me through that.
Yeah, for sure. So it's specific types of departments or specific types of roles. So for example, if it's a lead designer or one that is customer facing and they're responsible for winning the deals, then we have sales training or business development training, how to, develop leads with referral relationships or having a sales system. So there's role training. And then there's for those procurement specialists, there's project management, customer service training, how to de-escalate customer problems, how to get organized in a process, stuff like that.
Jessica, if I came to you and I said, hey, Wingnut Social needs a salesperson, and we do need a salesperson.
Yeah.
I'm doing the sales and I suck at sales. And you were like, okay, Darla, great. We're going to find you a salesperson for Wingnut Social. Are you looking for qualified people who are already adept at sales and have some of these skills already? Or is there okay, here's path A we can take, Darla. Let's find this person who already has all the skills, or we can find you this type B person who is promising. And I think we can mold them to Wingnut Social and we can train them in sales. You see what I'm saying? Or is it just, okay, we're going to get them no matter who they are and train them?
Yeah. So from the recruiting side of it, we're looking for 3 specific areas. We want to make sure that they have a good culture fit with you all, that they're going to, groove with you. We want to make sure that they have specific skills in mind. So, if they've done the sales before, they need to have proven track records of sales. And then we need to make sure that they have specific experience in an industry or an area. And so through those 3 things, you get a qualified salesperson. Then the training comes in with giving them some tactics or processes to execute in their day-to-day job. We'll actually talk about, all right, what 5 people you're going to be calling today, what is going to be your script, how are you going to negotiate with them, and we'll go through and help them do their job.
Okay, sorry, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I was just wrapping my head around what that process looks like for sure. Okay, so let's talk about going with an agency such as yours, right, for hiring someone who is a good fit, who's professional, and hopefully will stick around for the long run if that's what you want, versus trying to do it yourself. And I'll tell you from a business owner, I have done both. and always doing it myself. Well, not always, because I mean, I have people on the team, I've done it myself that turned out to be amazing. But for those 5 or 6 amazing people that I have, I could probably show you another 12 that weren't, right. And that was a lot of investment, a lot of hard money spent, a lot of lessons learned. And I'm assuming that going with an agent or an agency such as yourself isn't free. Right? There's a little bit of an investment there. So tell us how doing that versus doing it yourself, going on LinkedIn or something, pays for itself or and then some. So if someone in the audience is thinking, gosh, I want to expand my team. I mean, obviously we want them to go with you or to look you guys up, but maybe they want to go with any agency, right? So first let's tell us why they need to even think about it.
Yeah. So there's actually 2 different types of agencies. There's retained recruiters and contingent recruiters. Contingent recruiters are ones that are commissioned a percentage of a person's salary. Yeah. And usually, there might be like a percentage down, but usually they go and they find the person without any payment. But then, you're paying half of the person's salary to that recruiter because they took all the risk up front to go search. The retained recruiters is what we do. We are like your extension of your HR department. So you're paying for the time that it takes, the cost that it takes to find that person. And in the long run, it's actually a lesser of investment than the massive commission you'd be paying to your contingent recruiter. And I take it a step further because we are people operations. So we're looking at the holistic approach of the recruiting process. Recruiting agencies, they only do the upfront process, which is a resume screen and a 5-minute phone call. And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, you sound half decent. Let's forward them over. Where we're doing handholding start to finish, we're coaching you through the recruiting process. We do 3 areas of screening. Then we schedule all of the subsequent follow-up with you guys and then all the way through the offer. So it's this coaching process combined with the retained recruiting.
Right. And what kind of guarantee do you guys offer if they turn out, because it happens, a candidate will go through and jump all the hoops and they'll do stellar. And then once their butt's in a seat on the job, they turn out to be, something different. What kind of guarantee would you have versus like if we did this in real life, there's no guarantee, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first from the guarantee perspective is it's a 120-day prorated guarantee. So in the first 60 days, if something were to happen, regardless of what, we replace them, no questions asked, for no charge. Between 60 and 90 days, then there's a smaller rate from 90 to 120. I mean, at some point, they should be flying with you or you should be cutting it off,
After 5 years, Jessica.
Yeah. Right.
I want all my money back. They decided to, right. Yeah. No, that I understand that. We have, at Wingnut, we have a 90-day probationary period. I guess that's pretty standard in the industry, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that sounds very reasonable. Okay. So let's talk about something, that I'm sure the audience would like to know is let's talk about salaries and salary expectations and what you're seeing as far as junior designers, senior designers, procurement, operations, that kind of thing. Where are you seeing salaries going from, pre-pandemic to now? I know the inflation has, inflation last year has set up salaries a little bit as well, but I think they're pulling back some.
Yeah.
But then again, there's the economy, right? So I would think there'd be a little bit more competition, right? Well, not quite as many people hiring, right? So what does that look like?
Yeah. So the different factors that go towards salary is your individual markets. If you're in a small town versus a big town,
sure.
Having the competition, your direct local competition, what they're offering, and then what the role actually pays, the experience of it. And so from a scale standpoint, we're seeing that your senior designers, even your junior designers, they're going to be on a salary basis. And that can be ranging really anywhere, depending on their experience, between 50,000 and 100,000 and their level. So it has increased since the pandemic, certainly because of those things that you mentioned. But it's coming down to trainability. If they are someone that has all the experience, that's done it exactly, well, then they are much higher in worth in their salary than someone that you're going to have to spend 12 months training up to speed. They're fresh out of college, just with, their schooling. They don't actually have real job life experience. So those things are similar to the past, but it has increased, and salary for those senior and those junior designers. Whereas any of your procurement, it depends on how much business you have. That might be an hourly, part-time, or if you have the business, that could be a salary role as well.
I was going through a rebrand in my company and having a new website built. And I brought in Wingnut at around the same time and had them do a strategy. In that strategy, I found it to be really comprehensive and actionable. I, like probably many designers, find Instagram to be such a bear. I understand that it is so important. It is a visual medium. What we do is so visual, but it's an entire full-time job, and with running a business and actually doing design, it was just really not feasible for me to keep up that pace with Instagram if I ever wanted to sleep. So working with Wingnut, they have taken all of that off of my plate, which honestly is the most invaluable piece of working with Wingnut.
Do you also help with hiring part-time?
Yes.
Employees? Really?
Yeah,
okay.
and it really just depends on what they value in the investment. If they think it's worth it to find that part-time person that maybe is a specialist, then for sure. Others go, yeah, no, the investment's too high to make it worth it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for answering that, by the way, because that's one of the most common questions that I see in the interior design groups on Facebook. I'm thinking of hiring a junior designer. What kind of what salaries are y'all paying? What should I pay them? I mean, that's quite a wide range, 50 to 100,000, but a range is good, right?
Yeah.
To have that. Yeah. And that's for junior to senior designers, or that was just the junior designer? Sorry.
Junior to senior. Yeah.
Okay. So senior's going to be more on the upper end of that.
Right. And it also depends if they're the ones winning the deals. Are they the senior designer that is going to lead the project because they have all the experience, or are they the ones also winning the deals? So that would vary and even go higher on the six figures if they were the ones on the sales side of it.
That makes perfect sense. And is that the same for my experience is interior design, right? Because I had the design firm, but is that the same on the window treatment side as well, I imagine? Or what is, I don't know too much about the window treatment industry, I will say. Luann Nagara, that's another show of a well-designed business. She does for sure. What would the equivalent be there in the window treatment industry? And is the salary the same?
Yeah, for sure. So on a sales side, that would be the equivalent of a lead designer. So that might be anywhere from $75,000 to $125,000 on an average.
Wow. Okay.
And then for your project managers, they're going to be in the $50,000 to $60,000 range, depending on their experience. Installers will range, like helpers will be maybe $40,000 to $60,000, and then your lead installers could be $60,000 to $80,000 if they're a specialist. It depends. So.
Thank you. This is really helpful, these figures. And if you're thinking of hiring out there you go. So you can kind of have a range in expectations. And I'm assuming these are with or without benefits, such as health insurance, 401k, all that, or that includes benefits? Yeah.
So that's just the actual salary figure. It would be benefits on top of that. And I definitely encourage benefits, even if they're, clever, like you get to wear jeans all the time. That's a benefit to some, just put it out there. So, you want to attract people to work for you, and you'll find that perfect person that way.
Yeah. Wingnut Social's benefits are you can wear pajama bottoms for all I care.
It's a benefit.
It is.
People love it.
Just look nice from the waist up. No, we also have health insurance, 401k, and all that stuff here. So if you know a salesperson, okay, let me ask you, what is a salesperson in a marketing agency range?
They're going to be in the 100,000 figure.
Yeah, that's why I do it.
1 to 150.
That's why I'm still doing it, ladies and gentlemen. That is hard to part with, let me tell you.
Yeah.
All right. So very, very cool. So what are you seeing for the future of hiring for interior design firms and interior design? We touched a little bit on the economy and maybe there being some pullback with expanding or scale, or are you not seeing that because you deal more with higher end luxury interior design firms? And if I'm wrong, correct me.
Yeah, no, we don't see it as much because of the high end luxury firms. And when they come to us, it's a specialty position usually. You know, it's something that they haven't, it's taken too long to have them find, or it is really important to their company, so they're going to make the investment. So we're not seeing a lot of slowdown in certain parts, certain clients, like Upper East, I've seen slowdowns. Then the South is pretty strong, and growing. But I think for the future of hiring, two things for our industry has to be open, you know, the owners have to be open to, is a remote interview process. Not that it has to be entirely remote, but, you know, we're seeing candidates wanting to meet with a lot of businesses to make sure they're making the right choice. And they can't be taking off of work all the time. And so, you know, make accommodations for them. If you want that top talent, they have ethics. They're good at what they do. And so you want that person that is a little hesitant to just jump ship from their daily job and go meet half the day with you. Be respectful of that. So just like people are looking for remote work, they're also looking for remote Zoom interview processes and that sort of thing. That would be a big element. And the other element too is keeping in mind that the candidates do have a lot of options. And so you have to keep being creative and inventing ways to put yourself apart from everyone else, just like you would in a marketing sense. You know, when you're trying to brand your business, be special, stand out. It's the same thing with candidates. They got to know why it is your business that is the best one for them to work with.
Right. I'm curious as to why the Northeast, right, would be a little bit less. And the first thought that came to my head when you said that is because of the taxes. I'm in Maryland, and the taxes here in Maryland are crazy. I know New York, New Jersey, maybe New Jersey not so much. The taxes around all that are crazy. It's so much more expensive to hire. You know, when we hire remote employees, we have employees all around the country, so it's so much more expensive to hire in states like New York or California. Even that's way west. But have you seen that impact your pool of applicants or where people want to hire from or those firms? Or
it takes a little bit longer to find that person then, or get them to want to hire. Like, the business is still there. It just isn't like the flood from beginning of COVID, the design boom that I kept calling it. And so now it's just normaling out, and people are kind of freaking out, but it's not lower than pre-pandemic. So you just have to work a little harder. Sorry.
Yeah. And something else that I picked up on there that I want to comment on is that you're talking about, you haven't really seen a lot of slowdown because you're working with higher end, more luxury, higher end interior designers, and the same here at Wingnut. Our clients tend to be the higher end, more luxury interior designers, more established firms. And if you're rethinking your business direction, or if you're, I think that's just another argument for specializing in higher end. I had a designer say, hey, things might be slowing down a little bit. I'm wondering if I should lower my service offerings and start doing, e-design. And I said, no. That's a race to the bottom. That's the last thing you want to do. Yeah. If anything, level up. Yeah. And that advice was followed, and that designer is doing, better. So it seems counterintuitive. It seems counterintuitive, but I'll be damned if it doesn't work out that way. It's so funny.
Yeah. And on the process side for us, when we're working with the business owners to figure out what their budgets are going to be for the new year and stuff, a lot of times if they're being conservative, they'll say, okay, well, let's slash that marketing budget. I'm like, no. Never, ever touch that one. Put more into it when you're feeling the pressure. So we got to pull from other areas. And it's the same thing. If you're just specializing it, there's always going to be business in your specialty. So just keep focused.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And that was unsolicited, by the way, folks. But it's, I compare it to like a slinky dog. It's counterintuitive, but if you pull back on your marketing during any kind of challenge, economic challenge, it's going to come back to bite you when things get better. Then your competition who didn't pull back are just that much farther ahead of you, in their business. And you got all that catching up to do. And it's not great. Not at all. All right, Jessica, is there anything that I've forgotten to ask you on this topic that you think the audience needs to hear before we get into the What Up Wingnut round?
Well, I think the other change for the future that interior designers and small business owners should focus on is a way to physically test the candidates that come through the process. And you and I talked, on our first podcast episode about the shadow process, which I'm still a big believer in. But doing some sort of test where, maybe it's putting together a mood board or showing their portfolio or, something that just gives the business owner more confidence in making the right decision, because that's what I see as a failure in the process is it's the business owner being indecisive or unsure if the person sitting in front of them is the greatest, change for their business. And so test them, ask them for examples, proof.
Okay. Well, that's going to lead me to one more question. How much can you test a potential candidate without paying them? Like I understand seeing your portfolio or something, but say you want them to run through a gauntlet of here's a client, here's their story, here's their problem, create a solution for it. How in depth can you get with a client before you're like, exhausting that aspect of, hey, I'm not getting paid to do this? So
from a respect level, I don't want to make candidates do anything over 2 hours worth of work. Unless, they're coming to shadow for a half day, that's different. They're just observing. But, assuming that they have a job and they're just switching jobs, we need to be conscious that they also have to get paid for what they're doing currently. So, if it is a test, 2 hours, 3 hours max, it shouldn't be a full day thing, but you could start paying them. I have had clients that say, well, I really want to test them longer. Okay, fine. Then pay them a stipend for doing that. Yeah. I've done that. I've had search engine optimization candidates come through, and I've said, okay, here's the Wingnut social URL, do an SEO audit, and, giving them something, because those aren't inexpensive to do. All right. All right, Jessica Harling, thank you so much for joining us again and giving us your insights on the state of everything. We really appreciate it. Now I have to ask you, are you ready for the What Up Wingnut round? Oh, I'm ready. So we've been through this before, so I'm gonna concoct a couple of different questions for you. Okay. So my first question would be, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? Ooh, I love olive trees because I love olives. That's a really good, and the wood is super hard on those, right? I think they build very strong things. I could be wrong. My next question is, if you were a superhero, what superhero would you be and why? Oh, that's a good one too. Or what superpower, I should say. Well, I've always wanted the power of, teleportation. You just like snap and be anywhere. That's a really good one. Like the movie Jumpers. Right. I don't know if you saw that. Did you ever see that? With Hayden Christensen, Jumpers? Right. I loved it. It was great. And last but not least, we will ask you the book one. Please recommend a book that's impacted you either personally or professionally. Yes. Professionally, I would say Getting Things Done by David Allen. Well, how did that help you? It's a productivity book. And so it goes through like how to manage your emails, how to kind of spend your time wisely. One of the things that I got from it is touch things once. And I kind of apply that to a lot of processes that we build. But if you touch it once, you're not rehashing, which is time out of your days. So if it's an email, make a decision about it and move it on. Or if it's a project, touch it once, like handle it and then move on. Done is better than perfect. Would that align with that? Yeah, or no? For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Making a decision, just being decisive. I do a lot of that, not imperfect done things. Jessica Harling, thank you so much for joining us again. Please tell the audience where they can go to find out more about you and Behind the Design, and we'll call it a day. Okay. Well, you can find Behind the Design on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And our website is gobehindthedesign.com. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. Thanks, Darla.
All right, kids, I still need a salesperson, but I don't know if I want to let that go. That $150,000 a year go right now. See, I'm my own worst enemy right now, because here I'll be the first one to say, to scale your business, you need to hire and grow. And I have no doubt that if I did that, it would happen. I'm not a control freak per se, but I think it's the last thing that I'm holding on to besides the podcast here in the business. So we'll talk, Jessica. I know I've reached out to you in the past. We'll talk. I know it needs to be done. I'm not the best salesperson. I'm just like, here you go. Here's what we do. Here's why we do it the best. Yin out. It's not that bad, but it's not that far from that. So if you're thinking of hiring for your interior design firm or your window treatment firm, I guess they're still firms, right? Shop. Are they shops? They're called shops, right? Sorry. Window treatments were never my thing, never my strong point. Or your architect firm or the like, or maybe you're a to the trade vendor. Head on over to gobehindthedesign.com and check out Jessica and her services. I'm sure that you can't go wrong there. And if you need marketing for any of those above mentioned industries, wingnutsocial.com, that's all we do. We do marketing for the interior design vertical, because I am a former, I guess, interior decorator, interior designer, or however you want to call that, out of Miami, Florida. And that's how I grew into this business, was because my marketing for my previous firm was so impactful. Designer said, please market for me. I don't know how you're getting in magazines and all this, but I want that too. And so, long story short, Wingnut Social was born, and ended up, I really love doing this. So this is what I do now full time. Plus, I'm not in Miami anymore. I moved. A divorce and a wedding and all that, but you don't care about that. So head on over to wingnutsocial.com to see how we can work together. And that is it for this episode. Remember, until next time, to get out there, get uncomfortable, and be great. Hey there, Jessica Harling. Welcome back to the show. How the hell are you?
I'm doing great, Darla. I'm so excited to be back.
Hold on, we got my dog. Hey there, Jessica Harling. Welcome back to the show. How the hell are you?
I am doing very well. How are you?
I am doing really well. And I don't know if you heard my dog in the background there, but he may try. I need my notes.